Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Glad you could join us today. Today we're going to be making something with these little guys. Some of these and these. We're going to be making a sweet pickle relish, cucumber relish, and I thought I would bring you along today to share that with you, and hopefully you'll like it. While you're here and waiting for me to get things set up, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, the notification bell. Leave a comment below and share so you can help me get my channel more noticeable and recognized out there. I'd appreciate it. Alright, so for this recipe you're going to need 8 to 10 medium cucumbers. And I've already pre-washed them. Let me go ahead and get these started chopping. Now we will be canning this recipe, and it is water bath canning. I'm going to take the ends off of the cucumber. You can peel these. We prefer not to, so we're not too worried about that. And then what I do is just cut it down the middle. And then just make kind of, not julienne style kind of slices, but a little thicker than that. Like that. Then I just go across here again and dice those up. You don't want them really chunky, you want them to be kind of fine. And if you have a chopper, it's a perfect time to use that. I just find it therapeutic to cut my veggies. I know that sounds strange, but I just really enjoy it. So we're going to go ahead and put the cucumbers in this bowl. And I'm going to finish cutting up the cucumbers, and then we will move along to the next step. So we got about 8 medium zucchini in there, finely diced up. And the next thing we're going to move on to is the bell peppers. Now the recipe does call for 3 green bell peppers, but I had an extra one from the garden that's red, so I'm going to use the green and red just for a little bit of color. And we're going to dice it the same as we do the cucumbers. Get all these seeds out here. And then cut the membrane out. We don't need that for relish. And don't worry about if a little bit of seed do get in there. It won't hurt anything. But you do want to try to get most of them out. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. We're going to kind of slice them into semi-thin slices. Kind of like that. Maybe even a little thinner if you choose. And you're going to need a large bowl for this recipe because we're going to soak these in the salt water for 2 hours before we actually put it together. So you can see they're kind of just, you know, small little chunks there. Put them in there with the cucumbers. I'll go ahead and finish slicing these all up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I went ahead and chopped up the peppers. Now, yes, most generally you just use green, but I figured might as well use the red one that we got out of the garden, and put it in there with it. It won't change the flavor. It's going to be sweet anyway, so it's perfect for that. The next thing you're going to need is 5 onions. And that one is not a good one, so we'll throw that one out. Let me wash off my knife here. Get another onion out. Alright, so we're going to chop up 5 onions to put in here, and it's about the same consistency as far as dicing. Just throw it in there. I'm going to go ahead and finish slicing the rest of these onions up, and we'll move on to the next step. I wanted to show you a little trick that I learned. You know how to cut up 5 onions. And what do onions make you do? Cry. So what you can do is take a clean rag, get it nice and wet, or you can use a paper towel, wet paper towel. Put it right where you're chopping your onions, anywhere near it. And when you go to chop your onions, all that aroma that makes you cry, there's a certain thing that it's called, I can't remember what it is exactly. It gets absorbed into that wet paper towel or that wet rag. And no more crying for you. Next thing you're going to need is a 1/2 cup of your salt to put in your bowl that you had all your goodies in. And I'm going to mix this up just a little bit. Oh, so pretty. Almost looks like Christmas colors. It's very pretty. Get all the peppers and onions and cucumbers all mixed up in there. Isn't that pretty? So, at this point, you're going to use a 1/2 cup of your canning salt, kosher salt, or in my case, we're going to be using Himalayan pink salt because we seem to like that better. Just don't use iodine salt because that can discolor your juices when you go to can. But we're going to go ahead and pour a 1/2 cup of the salt. And spread it over. And we'll mix it up a little bit. And what this is going to do is draw out your juices. So you want to get it good and mixed. Add a little bit more. Put the rest of it in there. You can already see the juices coming out of the vegetables just in that short period of time. See how glistening it is? I don't know if you can see that or not. Hopefully you can. So we're going to let this sit for 2 hours. Just cover it with a towel. Let it sit for 2 hours so it can drain the water out from the vegetables. And then we'll rinse it before we continue on. So that's it. We're going to get our towel. We're just going to cover it. Let it out of the side, out of the way. And in 2 hours, we'll be ready to move on. This is a relish video, how to make your zucchini, or not zucchini, cucumber relish. But I did want to mention something. When I talked about earlier how I had the red bell pepper that came from the garden and I didn't want to let it go to waste, so we just went ahead and added it to our relish. Well, I went ahead and saved some of the seed. And you guys can do this at home too. You just take those seeds off very gently. And you don't want to do it when they're green. You want to do it when they're fully ripened. So that one was red. It was fully ripened. The seeds are already pretty much dry. But what I did was marked my napkin here. And with what kind of pepper it was. That was a Wonder Bell pepper that I had gotten from Baker's Creek, the seed, and grew from seed. And I just put it on a napkin here and separated them so that they could dry. And I would put them on the shelf and wait for them to get good and dry. Usually it takes about 3 days. You can leave them out longer than that. But just put them where they're not going to be, bothered, or you don't lose them. And then, like I said, I just wanted to show you this real quick while we're waiting on the salt to bring out the juices in our veggies that we're making for our relish. And even though it'll be 2 hours for me, it won't be for you. The next process will be rinsing and moving on. Alright, we are ready to rinse and drain this. You're going to hear Carmen in the background. She's helping my husband straighten up some things from the flooding that we had the other day. But I wanted to show you how much liquid. I don't know if you can see it or not. See that liquid? A lot of liquid. We're going to go ahead and dump it into our colander. And I'm losing it, so hold on just a second. There we go. So we went ahead and dumped it. And we're going to scrape out all the goodies in there because we don't want any of that to go to waste. And then at this point, look at that, how beautiful that is. We're going to go ahead and start rinsing. We're going to rinse with cold water. And let me set you up so you can see a little bit better. Meanwhile, I have my jars in my water bath canner getting sterilized. as we speak and as we do this. So I'm going to continue rinsing this to get that salt all out of there. And then we will continue on. So we went ahead and got the relish vegetables all rinsed off so that they're no longer salty. And you're going to need a steel pan, not aluminum, sorry, steel pan. That way the vinegar doesn't react to the vinegar. At this point, you're going to add 3 cups of sugar to this pan. Alright, I got the sugar in there. And you're going to need 2 cups of white distilled vinegar. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that in there as well. And then we're going to turn the heat on to a medium. And we're going to stir this down until it starts boiling and all the sugar has dissolved. We boiled that for 1 minute and you can see that it's clear. So we're going to go ahead and come over here, and if you look in here, we're going to smash this down, try to get more juice out of there. Whoa! Make a mess, it's a process. But just try to push all that juice out. Or water, I should say. As much as we can. And we're going to add it into our pan. Alright, got that in there. Stir it up a little bit here. The vegetables all mixed up in that brine. And then the next thing we're going to do is start adding some of our, let me turn you around this way. There we go. Start adding some of our ingredients, other ingredients. So the next thing we're going to need is your tablespoon of mustard seed. Have that here. We're going to add a tablespoon in with this. And then you're going to need 2 teaspoons. Let me get it here. Of celery seed. Then you're going to need 1 teaspoon of turmeric. And now you're just going to blend this together. Get all of those flavors incorporated. Alright, so now we're going to bring this up to a boil, and then once it starts boiling, we'll set the timer for 10 minutes. Alright, so you can see it's coming to a boil, so we're going to go ahead and set the timer for 10 minutes. Oops. And let that get started, and we're going to cook this for 10 minutes, and then we will remove it from the heat. So we are ready. It's been 10 minutes of boiling and just stirring occasionally to make sure it didn't stick. We'll go ahead and lift you up here so you can see. Look at that. It smells delicious. So my jars are ready, and it is time to go ahead and start canning this up. I'm just using little half-pint jars. I do have 3 larger jars in there if I need them. We're going to go ahead and take this and put it in there all the way up to a 1/2 inch headspace. Good. And then we're going to use our clean cloth, and I have white vinegar here, and we're just going to wipe the rims. It's always important to do, to make sure that there's nothing blocking. Ooh, that's hot. Nothing blocking your seal. No food contaminants, none of the brine, none of that stuff. And put our lid on. Finger tight. No wrist action, just fingers. We're going to put that in the water canner. Get another jar out here. Wipe the rim again. Put another clean lid on and finger tight. I'm going to go ahead and finish canning up the rest of this, and then we'll move on to the next step. Why you make sure you wipe your rims. That was brine that was on top of the rim here, and if I would have put the lid on without wiping it, it could have prevented a seal. I didn't show you the other canning jars because I had to go back and redo them because I omitted a step that I never do. But you need to you could use a chopstick, you could use a debubbler. That way you make sure that you get the right headspace, because sometimes that will take everything down for you. Move this on over. Alright, so what I did, because I didn't use another small jar, I didn't want to open up another case for it. So we had some left over, and it's not enough to be up to the 1/2 inch headspace for canning. So I just took an old lid that I'm not using for processing, and I would just let that sit out and cool down and put it in the refrigerator, and we'll use that first. So now I'll take you over here. We have 5 of the 1/2 pint jars and 1 pint jar in the canner. And we're going to go ahead and lower this down and cover it with a lid and bring it to a boil. Once it starts boiling at a full rolling boil, we'll start the timer and process for 10 minutes. And it's boiling away. Not much longer either. And it's ready. We're going to go ahead and turn this off. Ooh. And we're going to pull this lid back, let it vent for about 5 minutes. Then we'll take the lid completely off and let it sit for another 5 minutes before we move in the jar. It is. So we ended up getting 5 1/2 pints and 1 pint. And I've already heard, oh, there's a pop. Already heard a couple of pops now, so that's showing me that those are sealing. Aren't those beautiful? I did taste the one that I'm putting in the refrigerator, and it is delicious. So on that note, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hit the like button, leave a comment below. But the best thing you could do for me and my channel is to share it. That way we can get our content out and other people can enjoy these videos as well. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.